What's going on, everybody, and welcome. I always say a special edition of the Baumbastic podcast. I'm going to go ahead and say this is the most chaotic edition of the Baumbastic podcast, presented by Natty State Sports and hosted by me, Andrew Ellis. I say chaotic because a lot of things had to unfold for me to be here live on a Sunday night, recapping a pretty wild series for Arkansas and Mississippi State, and we're going to try and get into as much as we can and process it the best we can. But I want to first start by just telling you guys how chaotic it had to be for me to end up here. As you can see, I'm in my bedroom, or not my bedroom, I should say my guest bedroom. For anybody who is a fan of the Hog Hoops Live podcast, I'm not going to specify anymore, but the Hog Hoops Live fans may recognize this room a little bit. We are undergoing a little bit of a change here. If anyone watched John Neighbor's show on Friday, they also understand that he filled them in on that whole thing and why we're doing stuff from our bedrooms this weekend. We are entering a little bit of a transition. We are moving to a different space. We enjoyed our time at our other one. We are moving to a new one, which in a location will be announced soon. You guys don't care. You're here to talk about baseball, but I did just want to say we are here for my guest bedroom, and a lot of things had to happen. Like I said, they stopped giving out vouchers in the press box. I began this game at Baum-Walker Stadium in the press box, doing my job like a normal person. Waited till about the fourth, fifth inning to go get a snack, and they said, we're out of food vouchers, which really bummed me out. I had my parents at the game who are now driving back to Monroe, Louisiana tonight. My mom was getting a little restless, so they needed to go home. They didn't have food vouchers for me. I was like, you know what? I'm going to leave this game in the seventh inning. We left after Arkansas took the lead. We left and watched the Peyton Holt home run. We watched the Hudson White home run before that, the Jason Jones home run before that. And obviously we're going to get into all that, but we had to head back to the crib so they could get back. We watched the final two innings there, and it is what it is, ended up being here. And I was like, you know what? Let's just F it. Let's just go live. Why not go live, recap the craziest? So I listened to hear what Dave Van Horn had to say. And now here we are. I'm not even 100% sure anybody can hear me. If there's audio issues or video issues or anything going on, y'all let me know, because I didn't really have time to, my producer didn't clock in this weekend. So I'm just solo riding this sucker by myself, but that's why I need you guys. Let's pop in the chat. Let's get this thing popping. I haven't even really had time to sit down and process anything of what I've seen from this weekend and today, but I figured you guys could help me out with that a little bit. But I guess I'll just start with this. What a freaking finale, man. What a difference 90 minutes makes about. I mean, there was times, shout out to everyone who's on the Discord server, the official Discord of Natty State Sports, the Dixon Street Discord. Shout out to everybody who was in that making that stuff pop today. It was really fun. We had a lot of fun. We were mixing it up, and it got dire there for a little bit, obviously, with the Mason Molina, starting performance that he had today, and some of the struggles that happened after that. I mean, Arkansas's down 6-0 after 3 innings, and it just seems like the world is falling, and why can't this team, did this team peak? Why can't this team win? I love when people say this team can't win the big one when they're playing games in like April and May, which none of these games are really that big. But, like I said, it felt pretty dire there for Arkansas. I know a lot of fans were asking questions. National seed, what's going on? Nate Thompson, is DVH gonna make the tough calls? Do we need to send DVH out to pasture? There's all these conversations being had, and I'm not going to call anybody out. I mean, we all were pretty downtrodden there for a while. But yeah, the Dixon Street Discord, man, you would have thought this team was like 21-28 or something like that, or having the type of year that LSU's having, or the type of year that Ole Miss had a couple years ago, or Mississippi State had a couple years ago. You would think this team really actually was bad, but not only is this team not bad, they are now, I guess, 42-10. Does that sound right to y'all? 42-10, 19-8 in SEC play. For those that don't understand that context, Arkansas won 18 SEC games in 2018. They were 18-12. And I remember at the time thinking like that was unreal. Like Arkansas made it to Omaha in 2015. I think they went 15-15, 16-14. They've gone to Omaha with a lot of SEC records that were at or near 500. So going 18-12, I was like, oh man, that's a nice little step for this program. You know what I mean? Winning 18 games. I think they won 18 the next year too. And then they won, what was it, like 21 in 2021. So I mean, you see this team, this program, they've gotten to a level where, just doing 18 to 20 wins like it's nothing. That's just a lot easier than these guys have made it look. But Arkansas is now 19-8 in SEC play. I know I see some people saying it in the chat. I don't know if you saw. I think A&M either got swept or they're fighting to stave off a sweep later tonight against Ole Miss. Nobody really saw that one coming. So Arkansas has firm control of first place in the SEC West, and I do believe Arkansas would clinch it, or it would clinch at least a share of the SEC West title if Ole Miss were to get the job done and beat A&M tonight. Obviously, Arkansas also goes to A&M next weekend, so if they don't clinch it now, they can clinch it with just one win next weekend. But yeah, it's been a wild weekend here in Fayetteville. Been a wild weekend all around the country. I saw LSU dropped a game to Alabama. So LSU's lost another series. I believe they're now 10-17 in SEC play going into the final weekend. Not where you want to be. Not where anyone expected the defending national champions to be. But here we are. So hey, let's just hop right into the chat. Who always have my back. They're my loyal listeners, my subscribers, my comment section heroes, and some of these people I would even consider my friends, like Dr. Sauerbaum, who's a stud. He says Hogs win again. He was kicking it in the Dixon Street Discord. Yeah, Jacob Clemens. Yeah, what a difference an hour makes. Ain't that something? HH says, is Peyton Holt the greatest hog of all time? Yeah, he might be. He really might be. Shout out to my guy JT Hazelwood, who should be in the chat, but he texted me and was like, dude, is Peyton Holt, like, is he just the coolest hog ever? Like, he kind of said the same thing of, man, he's going to hold a special place in his heart. My mother, who Mother's Day, shout out to Mother's Day. Shout out to Susie Ellis. Shout out to Kim Jones, also friend of mine who has a notable son that did a good job today. But yeah, I took my mom to the game, and I was kind of, I wasn't watching the entire game with my mom, going up at the press box back and forth, trying to make sure she's good. But when I came back downstairs about the fifth or sixth inning, she said, hey, could you give me that Peyton Holtz autograph? And this was before he hit the 2-run home run that gave Arkansas the lead. And, at that point, I guess he had just had a double and a single and made a couple nice plays. But she was like, could you maybe give me Peyton Holtz autograph? Maybe you interview him and you could just, give me his autograph. I love watching him play baseball, man. And that's high praise coming from Susie Ellis. She played college softball, so she's a true athlete. Game knows game. She recognizes Peyton Holt's a great hog. She also really likes Kendall Diggs, which is, we can talk about Susie Ellis's baseball takes a little bit later. But yeah, Peyton Holt is one of those guys. Everyone who watches him play, it's like he instantly becomes your favorite player. He just brings that energy to the lineup, to the field, to the dugout, everywhere. They posted a video on the Razorback Baseball Twitter account, and after he hit his home run, after the plate, he said a curse word, an oopsie, but he said, effing told y'all, and I love that. Pretty good. Wow, Mary Ellen says, y'all have a great time. I'm on my way to our Mother's Day dinner, so I'll listen later. Great win, though. Completely unacceptable, Mary Ellen. Shout out to Mary Ellen. Saw her at the ball game Friday. Had to explain to my father why a young girl came up and said hey to me. And I was like, it's kind of tough to explain Mary Ellen's existence to my father. He was like, what the heck? But Bohannon, shout out to my guy Bohannon, says, Nate Thompson tired of hearing the nonsense. Yeah, Nate Thompson. I had a tweet earlier that said, Nate Thompson is your father. I also put in the Discord, is Nate Thompson the best hitting coach in the country? Because, man, shout out to Nate Thompson. Let's have a conversation about Nate Thompson for a second. Obviously, guys, I understand. An hour and a half ago, I know you guys weren't thrilled. I know he's not the most popular guy in Fayetteville. He's been trying to replace that guy for years now, it seems. It seems like anytime Arkansas loses a game, you start hearing Nate Thompson chatter and all that. Man, I mean, like I said, literally on the Discord an hour and a half ago, people were like, man, DVH, is he going to finally do it? Is he finally going to fire Nate Thompson or whatever? I'm not saying like, hey, guys, you need to apologize to Nate Thompson. Like, he's a big boy. He can handle it. He can handle himself. But I just hope y'all understand, like, y'all have a firm grasp of how reality works and everything. Like, this is the dude that's bringing in number one recruiting classes all the time. Now, to y'all's point, is he underachieving with those recruiting classes? Yeah, sure, maybe a little bit. You can make that argument, and we can talk about that. There's no doubt about that. This offense is underachieved all year. I've been super critical of this offense. Someone could make a nice little like compilation of Andrew Ellis dissing the Arkansas lineup, dating all the way back to like February, whenever they came back from Arlington. But like, I just hope people understand, like, this isn't like, I understand that like the offense has had its ups and downs and its struggles, but you guys act like this has like been a huge issue that's been plaguing the program, and this is like a cancer that needs to be removed. Like, Nate Thompson, not saying he's the best hitting coach in the country or anything, but he's had a lot of success here in his tenure at Arkansas, and I also think he's going to have no issue. I think y'all are really sleeping on how easy it is going to be for a hitting coach at a prominent top 5 SEC school to get a head coaching job. So, like, for all the people that are like, "Oh, DBH has got to make the tough decision and fire him," it's like he would much sooner like set him up with a pretty decent head coaching gig before he fired him. Which, like, if that's what you want to happen, cool, we can have that conversation. But yeah, how about Nate Thompson, man? Flexing on the haters, man. Fishman, who Fishman, I feel like he isn't around in the comment section as often, but classic. Fishman has been commenting with our stuff back when me, John, and Scotty and Curtis got together like 6 months ago before we even knew we were doing any of this. And I remember Fishman commenting. He's been with us for a while. Happy Mother's Day to you, Fishman. Let's see. Wanda Bread says Hog Hoops Live, as in what Curtis did at his old job. Yes, as in what Curtis did at his old job. We had about 2 months where me and Curtis were doing Hog Hoops Live together this basketball season, which turned out to be quite the disaster of a season. So thank God that we didn't continue doing that. But yeah, like right before, like literally weeks before we launched Natty State Sports, me and Curtis had did a few episodes of a different podcast. I shouldn't be talking about this right now. I don't know why I'm talking about this publicly, but yes, I used to record it from my bedroom, and so we're back in those days. Fishman says, seems like the pitching has really dropped off outside of Hagen Smith. If you're referring to starting pitching, you are absolutely correct. If you're referring to the rest of the pitching staff, I'm not quite there yet, mostly because think about what's happened the last 2 nights. Well, and also think back to what happened Friday night. Hagen Smith gives up 3 runs, which at the time was like, he hadn't done that since opening day when James Madison got after him. But yeah, Hagen Smith gives up 3 runs, and Mississippi State works their way back into the game. And you're like, man, how's Arkansas going to handle this situation? They get good innings out of Christian Fouch. They get Gabe Gackle to come in and clean up a mess. Then he runs into a little bit of trouble, gives up the lead. Will McIntyre comes in and gives up and cleans up that mess. Then Will McIntyre runs into a little bit of a trouble in the 9th, and Gage Wood comes in and closes that game out. It was a 7-5 win for Arkansas. I thought, obviously Hagen Smith had a nice little part in that, giving them 5 innings. But I thought the rest of the pitching staff did a really good job of kind of stepping up in that game and, giving Arkansas a win in what easily could have turned around and gotten away from them. So I thought that was an encouraging outing for the pitching staff, even outside of Hagen Smith. And then yesterday, obviously Brady Tigert's start doesn't go well. Ends after 4 outs, 5 outs. I can't remember. I guess I have the box score right here. Let's see. So let's go. Yeah, yesterday, Brady Tigert. Where are we at here? Yeah, so yesterday, Brady Tigert went 1 2/3, gave up 4 runs, walked 5. Obviously not a great outing, but then, right outside of that, Arkansas gets a good, not a great outing out of Ben Bybee, but Ben Bybee settles things down a little bit. He ends up leaving the game when it's 8-0. Parker Coyle comes in and was freaking the best outing of his career. Was lights out, 3 1/3, 3 strikeouts. I don't know if there's much to make out of that. Cooper Dossett comes in, gets a guy out. Stone Hewlett comes in and gets a guy out. And Jake Faraday retires aside in order, strikes out 2, gets his ERA under 2 for the year. And then today, it was kind of a full team effort outside of Mason Molina, which is why, look, the starting pitching is what it is. And we can talk plenty about that. We're going to have that conversation, I'm sure, on this program here. But I thought it was an encouraging outing from Gage Wood, who came in and settled things down a little bit. I thought Christian Fouch also had another solid. I think he threw 1 inning, gave Arkansas 3 outs. In a game like this, you need that. Will McIntyre, 2 scoreless innings, worked his way out of a couple jams, had some guys on traffic, but didn't panic. Got the job done there. And then Gabe Gackle once again. He continues to be really, really good. And so it's like, yeah, just think about this whole Arkansas pitching staff. And obviously, yeah, the starting pitching, really not great. Really, it's a situation. It's a problem. I tweeted out. Arkansas officially has a starting pitching problem outside of Hagen Smith. Can they solve this problem? There's reason to believe so. Gage Wood gave you 3 innings today after giving you 4 1/3 last week. And he gave you 3 innings today on 1 day rest also, because he threw, not a ton of pitches, but he threw in a high leverage spot on Friday. So him coming back today and giving you a little bit, throwing 53 pitches, 34 for strikes, only walked 1. I know you guys will like that. And with this starting rotation, that's kind of been the Achilles heel. Perhaps Gabe Gackle works into that mix. Ben Bybee, like I said, pitched yesterday. Didn't exactly run with his opportunity, but he's obviously started games. So we'll have that conversation of if Arkansas can fix that issue, but they certainly have a starting pitching problem at the moment. But outside of that, this pitching staff continues to pretty much be as advertised, and I feel like today when you fall behind 6-0, it's really easy to just, not climb back into that game and to, maybe you get you got one run there and what was it, the fourth inning. If Arkansas had given up two runs in the following inning, all of a sudden feels completely different. But no, they just kind of were able to chip their way back into the game, and it didn't come all at once. They kind of did it inning by inning, and the pitching staff did a good job of keeping it there. And so I think overall, I mean, this pitching staff has bailed this offense out a good bit throughout the year. Obviously, we see the offense bail the pitching staff out today, but I also think the pitching staff in the bullpen has shown an ability to fix some of these issues if the starting pitching struggles. And, obviously still a concern. They got to get those other two guys going, but it is what it is. I think they're all good. J.R. Shelton says there's a lot of crow to be had from this bipolar fan base. No, that's true. And look, I don't want to knock people for like being upset and for being, emotional and overreact, because that's sports fans. That's what we do, man. That's what we all do. I try my best to try and pretend like I'm a pro, but look, I'm a fan, dude. I'm a fan. I want Arkansas to win these games. I want Arkansas to win. I'm just as nervous as you guys. So I don't want to knock anybody who's like, living on the edge or anything, but I definitely think there are going to be a lot of fans that might look back at this season and say, I probably should have enjoyed that a little bit more. And look, I'm not saying Arkansas's, this is going to be the turning point. They're about to win the national title, and it's going to be all sunshine and rainbows from here. I'm sure this team's still going to have plenty of ups and downs throughout these next 3, 4, or 5 weeks, whatever it is. But I do think that, when you look back in hindsight, let's say that this team finishes in the semifinals of Omaha. They make a nice little run, and then they run into a really nice team. They lose by 1 run. It's a real close thing. And, they end up finishing with like 54 wins or something like that. And, not winning the national title, but having a really awesome season. I think even then people would look back and be like, man, I spent that whole year just a bitching away, man. Just yapping, complaining about every little thing. Like, I probably should have just enjoyed that a little bit more. They went 54-14 or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's going to happen. And obviously if Arkansas wins the national title, there's definitely going to be a lot of fans who are like, man, I didn't think they would do it. Oh yeah. They'll eat their crow. That's what's funny is like, they're only going to eat crow when they win the title. So that, if literally anything other than that happens, they're not gonna give up. Everybody says my audio and video is fine, which I appreciate. Bohannon says best setup you've ever had, big dog. Okay. Bo wants to know if Arkansas locked up a top 8. I'm not 100% sure on that, honestly. So now at 19 SEC wins. In a lot of years, 19 SEC wins get you a national seed. I mean, I referenced 2 years earlier where Arkansas won 18 and got a national seed. Their RPI wise, I haven't looked at. They were 3 or 4 entering today. I'd assume they're going to be 2, 3, 4 today. They're in a really good spot, and also losing a series at A&M or even getting swept at A&M really isn't going to like kill you from an RPI standpoint, especially on the road. I don't know if I could say locked up a top 8, because I think if Arkansas were to lose 5 straight games, maybe I'd feel a little bit differently. But I think they're very, very, very close. And I still think, even saying that, like, I think there's a scenario where they lose 5 straight, and some of those teams in that 5 to 10 range don't really make a move, and Arkansas still ends up being a national seed. So I'm not going to say locked up. I think one more at A&M probably does it, especially because beating a top 5 RPI team in their own right, that's going to kind of give you that little security there. 20 SEC wins should absolutely get you a national seed. Some years that's enough to win the SEC, and we'll see if I don't think it's going to be enough this year, but Arkansas is going to have a chance. I believe they, I haven't looked at what's happening around the league. I know they were a game back of the overall lead going into today. We'll see how, see anybody in the chat. Let me know what Tennessee I know Kentucky won today, actually. So they definitely are not in first place. They're at least a game back, and they don't own the tiebreaker over Kentucky. Although that's not a thing in these SEC title things. If you get swept by a team and y'all end up with the same record, y'all split it. It's just kind of a thing they do. It goes against you sometimes. It is what it is. Ozzy Maverick, my guy, we were DMing back and forth there in this game. Just a fun character, man. He said win of the year, and I tend to agree, man. I think DVH definitely agrees, because he told the team after the game and told the media that's the best win of the season by a long shot. By the way, did anyone see the video? I'm sure y'all did. The Razorback baseball account tweeted out a video, and they bleeped it, but DVH had the team in the huddle. He says, I don't hear shit coming from that dugout. I kid you not. If you think I'm lying, go look up the video right now. It's electric, dude. That tells you just how much, one, that Arkansas was getting a little annoyed by Mississippi State. Their dugout, so I couldn't, I was in the press box for a while and at different points in the stands. I couldn't hear it completely, but their dugout was definitely making noise a good bit. It must have been louder on the field. DVH said they were just talking and talking and talking. They could just hear them all weekend. And so I'm sure that win felt pretty good. And, when you face these division rivals, teams you see every year, players, there's a little bit of chippiness. And I think this Arkansas team, to see that's what really makes this win so special, I think, is one, it potentially locks up a national seed, gets you a big series win at home, gets you way closer to your ultimate goals and all that, and just looks good on paper. But also, it's just to see Arkansas be in a dogfight with a really well-rounded team, by the way. I think you guys would agree after watching them this past weekend. Mississippi State's a really well-rounded team. I mean, their top two starters are a really, really good 1-2 punch, give them a lot of innings. They have plenty of right, left, some velo in the bullpen, some soft tossing guys. You had the guy stunk today, that Cam Shelkey guy, but the sidewinder. I mean, they've got a ton of different arms they can throw at you. In their lineup, that top 5 or 6 in that lineup is really dangerous. Really, but then you guys kind of see that after that top 5 or 6, there's a little bit of a drop off, but that's kind of the case with anybody. And in Mississippi State, I feel like has underachieved a little bit offensively this year as well. But man, that's a really well-rounded team. It's to see Arkansas be in a battle, to be in a dogfight with a team that you very well could see down the stretch, could see in a super regional, could see in a Omaha type of setting. To see Arkansas rise to the occasion and really stick it to those guys and come back the way they did and do it with their bats, do it with the long ball, do it with the gorilla ball. Gorilla ball is back, dude. It's back. It's fully back. But I love that, man. I love that so much, man. It was just really, really encouraging. I think you guys would agree. Wonder Brett says the day 2 and 3 starters were for sure not great. Bats showed up when needed it today, at least. Absolutely. This is an accurate summary of what happened. Arkansas's second and third starters were not great, but the bats bailed them out in game 3. Couldn't quite do it in game 2. But I also thought, you guys let me know what you think. I thought the game 2 effort where Arkansas lost, I thought that also was like a little respectable. One, because you had Parker Coyle throw 3 and a third or whatever. Had those other guys contribute. Jake Faraday have a nice inning. Like, to see the bullpen really stop the bleeding, and obviously the starting pitching. I mean, they had 9 walks in 3 innings. Didn't really give them a chance, but I thought it was really impressive by the bullpen to give Arkansas a chance to make its way back in. I mean, they had the tying run of the plate in the 8th inning. That's about as much as you could hope for. And the offense wasn't out of this. It wasn't like nobody left the yard being like, oh, those Hogs, man, they can rake. But I thought they chipped away, gave themselves a chance in the end, had guys on base, put some pressure on Mississippi State, forced them to use a couple arms that they probably didn't want to use in a game when they got up 8-0. They ended up having to go to their best arm down the stretch. So I thought that was like a semi-encouraging loss, if that's a thing, especially at home. And then today, obviously, that was the cooler version of that. I thought it was just a lot of fun, man. I had a lot of fun at the yard this weekend. Really, really positive signs. And what's funny is that the offense really is, the last 2 weekends, say that Arkansas had not won today. Say that they had ended up making a comeback and then ended up losing like 7-6 or 7-5 or something like that. Arkansas would have lost 2 straight series, neither one of which really due to their offense, which would have been kind of funny. Who would have thought that was going to be the case, especially like a month ago or 3 months ago or at all? It's just fascinating. But yeah, the offense I thought has been pretty solid for these last couple of weeks. Weren't great at Kentucky, but really good in that first game. Had a bunch of guys on. I think they had 10 or 11 hits in game 3. So it's like, I thought that was a respectable showing at Kentucky. Obviously the pitching let them down. And then this weekend, I thought the offense was like just pretty consistent, consistently had guys on, barreled up a lot of baseballs, hit a lot of balls hard. Early in today's game, they had, I think, Peyton Holt hit the first pitch of the inning in the first inning, 108 miles an hour. Peyton Stovall hit a fly ball to right field that was like, I can't remember the exit velo, but it was like a high 90s, like a hard hit ball, pretty solidly hit. And then Vahiva had a 104 mile an hour line out to dead center. So that first inning, I was like, okay, these bats are there. And Mason Molina had a nice top of the first. So I was like, I was feeling good. And then, things hit the fan a little bit. But I thought the bats, for the most part, it was a pretty good weekend at the office. I haven't gone through the numbers. Like I said, I'm kind of just coming to you guys raw here, processing it as I'm on the stream here. That's what you guys are going to see a lot of. But I thought the bats, for the most part, it was just a pretty solid, consistent weekend. I mean, you had a comeback victory in game 1, comeback victory in game 3, had 5 runs on like 10 hits yesterday. Like, you can win with that effort more often than not. And I thought Arkansas's offense showed a little bit of signs of life, showed some dog in them, showed some fight for sure. Mm-hmm. Tanner Harris says 7-inning pitch by our starters combined. Impressive as hell to win the series. Yes, I mean, Hagan went 5. Tiger, what do you go, 1 2/3, and Mason Molina just got 3 outs. So yeah, 7 2/3. Is that right? Yeah, just 7 2/3, man. Like it is pretty crazy. And I think that's, this is a weekend that obviously you don't want this to happen. If it's a super regional and Arkansas only gets 8 innings out of their starting rotation, it's a problem. But isn't it encouraging as an Arkansas fan to see Arkansas come dig deep and win a series like that? When pretty much nothing went right for you, especially from a pitching standpoint. There were a lot of tough plays also in the field, like that ball that hit off of Sprague's glove, and they, there's a couple where it's like, oh, guys were just positioned just wrong, and just couldn't quite get there. It seemed like Arkansas was just not getting any break. Although Dakota Jordan just completely whiffed on a ball in shallow right center from Peyton Holt that ended up being a double. But to see Arkansas overcome all that, I just thought it really says a lot and just makes me feel better about this team. Feel better about this team than I did 4 hours ago. That's for sure. Young Sea Lion says start Wood, Tiger close. So I mean, Gage Wood has been pitching. He's been pitching really well these last, like a month now. He's been pitching well out of the bullpen, had some extended outings now. Today wasn't like he wasn't lights out. He didn't like dominate, but he threw a ton of strikes, was 94, 95. His fastball had plenty of life to it and gave up the home run early. But I thought the fact that he was able to just kind of battle through 3 innings and calm the game down a lot was really impressive, especially, like I said, to do it on one day's notice. So, I mean, look, I have no issue if Gage Wood if they want to make Gage Wood a starter. I think he's kind of earned that right, so to speak. And really, I mean, he's earned that right. And the veteran guys, Tiger and Molina, just have not, have allowed this conversation to continue to form and fluctuate just because they haven't stopped the bleeding. They can't quite get that command right. I was listening to Bubba Carpenter today. They had him playing in the press box, and he was like, yesterday was the only time I've ever felt bad for Brady Tigert on the mound. He just didn't have anything to get those guys out, man. He didn't have anything, man. I felt bad for him. Thought that was funny, but no, yeah, I mean, like, DVH didn't like say anything definitive after the game today. I listened to his comments right before I went live here, and he basically was just like, "We'll see what we have to do. We might make a move. Who knows? Like, I'm sure they're going to have to assess things for a few days, and also." If you start Gage Wood, who are you pulling? Tiger, Molina, and then if you do pull one of those guys, what do you do with them? Obviously we've seen Brady Tiger come out of the bullpen as a freshman and at times as a sophomore, but I hadn't done that in a while. I don't know if there's any guarantee that you're going to unlock the best version of Brady Tiger. There's no guarantee that you're going to be able to replace the bullpen innings that you're taking away from Gage Wood, so to speak. But obviously, if he's giving you 4, 5, 6 as a starter, you'll probably live with it. But I think it's a very risky maneuver, and one that I don't envy DVH at all. Because I mean, how do you make that decision? I know you guys like just see these guys suck on. You see Brady Tiger suck yesterday, and you're like, just yank him out of there. But how when you're Dave Van Horn and you've got a guy in Brady Tiger that you've kind of been building up and developing and kind of priming for this role, and it looked a few weeks ago like he was kind of turning the corner, like he was really going to be a big time starter for you. How do you go to him and just be like, hey man, we're going to bump you to the bullpen, but also we really need you to be good when there's 2 outs in the 7th inning and runners on 1st and 3rd because we're going to bring you in. It's just a really tough thing to manage as a head coach. And Mason Molina, same thing. A guy that, full disclosure, like it took a lot to get Mason Molina to campus. They had to really sell him on it. They had to recruit him here. A guy that was a Friday night starter last year hasn't come out of the bullpen in like 3 years. And had times this year where he looked awesome. How do you go to him and you're just like, actually, we're going to need you to just, I know the draft's coming up in a month. How about you show these teams you can pitch out of the bullpen? Maybe it works. So both of those things I just did, those hypothetical scenarios I just played out in my brain talking to myself, are very realistic. Like I think it's one of those is bound to happen, but it's not an easy conversation to have with either of those guys. And then also, what do you do if you move Gage Wood to a starting role and he stinks? And I saw someone comment about Gackle earlier. And look, I love Gabe Gackle. I can't wait to see him as a Friday night starter, which he's going to be in the SEC here in the next couple of years. But what do you do if you make that move and it doesn't work? Because then what do you do? then you're really toasty. You can't really go back to Tiger to be like, hey, I know we yanked you, but wood stunk, so we need you to take the ball again. It's just a tough situation. So I understand, it's frustrating what these starting pitchers have done the last few weeks. We know they're capable of more than that, and it just really sucks that they did not rise to the occasion. But you're probably going to need those guys down the stretch in some form or fashion. So I think that, like I said, I don't envy DVH at all when it comes to making this decision and knowing what to do here. But that's why he gets paid the big bucks, Hell says this team just finds a way to win. Hell yeah, they do. Hell yeah, they do. Played some good defense today, too. Turned one double play, maybe another. By the way, what'd y'all think of that play where the guy slid past the bag there at second base? I thought I don't think I've ever seen that. You see it happen all the time where there's a runner on first and he tries to steal, and then it's ball 4 and there's a throw down, and then like they quickly realize like, oh no, it's just a walk. That didn't happen here because the guy slides in. I thought he was out initially, then also slides off the bag, and it's just like I just really didn't know what was going on there. But that was fascinating. DVH said he had never seen a play like that before, but he was happy to get that out. And I thought that was a big moment in the game too, in terms of, because that could have very easily been first and second, 1 out, 2 out. Like it was going to be trouble for sure. And so, big time. Porkenstein says, you at neighbor's house? No, I'm not at neighbor's house. I've never been to neighbor's house, or at least not the one I don't think I've been to any of neighbor's house, actually. Y'all know where he lives? I'm just kidding. But no, I'm not at neighbor's house. If I was going to go out of my house to record, I would probably just like find somewhere cooler than a bedroom to do it. I would have gone to like a local establishment or something, which, by the way, if this space situation takes a little bit longer than we're hoping, local businesses of the University or of Fayetteville, hit me up. I will gladly come record a Baumbastic podcast live if you're nice to me. Yes, H-Fan says if Ole Miss beats A&M tonight, we win a share of the final SEC West title. That is correct. Yeah. Let's see, 20 would be epic. I'm guessing that is 20 SEC wins. How far behind am I on these comments here? Jeez. David wants to know, should Jason Jones replace Kendall Diggs for now? Well, Jason Jones, let's talk about Jason Jones. So this is a guy who came in with so much expectation. There was a point when he was a junior in high school where people were thinking like Jason Jones was going to be like a top 10 overall pick out of high school. Like I remember there was a time where he was committed to Arkansas, but it was kind of chalked up as like, congrats, you got that guy, but he's not coming to campus. But no, then, some senior year, I think he had some showcases that he struggled at a little bit. And so his draft stock was kind of all over the place. Like some people were like, oh, this is a top 20 guy. Some people thought he was a little bit later than that. And so he ends up coming to school and he's on this, Razorback team that had a ton of older guys, ton of transfers. You had Caleb Cali there at third base. You had an outfield that was completely loaded. So there's really it was it was just tough for him to work his way into that lineup. You had Kendall Diggs at DH as well, who at the time, Kendall Diggs was the coolest hitter we had ever seen. And so, wasn't able to really get in on the field a ton as a freshman, had some ups and downs, had some flashes. But this is a guy that I thought going into the offseason was one of the biggest X factors for this baseball team. I just thought it would be ideal if he could win the left field job. If anybody who's listening in preseason, I said that a lot, that they want him to win the left field job. I want him to win the left field job, and that's the highest ceiling option. And then obviously it did not work that way. He wasn't hitting consistently early in the year. He's battling with Will Edmondson, battling with Ross Lovich, battling with Peyton Holt, battling with Ty Wilmsmeyer, now battling with Kendall Diggs. It's like, he just hasn't we haven't really been able to see what a full season or like a extended sample size of Jason Jones and kind of what he can bring to the table. And obviously, I'm not saying it's it's a travesty that they weren't playing Jason Jones. He needed to hit more consistently, and he'll tell you that. There's no doubt about that. But we always, I think, or at least a lot of us, we're kind of just wondering, is there maybe another level, to this offense that was obviously not doing too much. And so I still think there's a lot of room for Jason Jones to become a huge factor for this team down the stretch. I'm glad that the coaching staff hasn't given up on him. I'm glad that he hasn't given up on himself. You don't come in and do what he did today and hit that ball 400 feet and, really put yourself in a position to change the game. If you don't believe in yourself and you haven't, if that takes a lot of mental fortitude because he could have this dude wasn't even on the 27-man roster like 6 weeks ago. He could, you know how many kids in that situation would have just folded up and quit and just been like, F this, man, I'm out of here. Jackson Rutledge, Jackson Rutledge is a freak talent kid. He quit the team mid-season when he was at Arkansas as a freshman, and they weren't pitching him as much as he thought. So, you know how many kids would just not want to be in that situation and probably would get down on themselves, probably start saying weird stuff, kind of become a little bit of a cancer. Jason Jones didn't do that. And I think it says a lot about him. And obviously I'm biased. That's my guy. I've had him on the program. You guys love Jason Jones too. You know how good of a kid he is. It's just really encouraging to see him come back and become a factor for this team down the stretch. And you see that ball hit today. That kind of is the story is, there's some swing and miss there. He's going to have times he'll be up and down, but when he's hot, it doesn't, he's got so much power, so much talent that he doesn't even know what to do with. I just think he could maybe take this offense to another level, give them another power threat. So I think that's kind of the guy that I think everyone should be cheering to emerge there in left field, assuming Peyton Holt is going to play center, which we can talk about the Ty Wilmsmeyer thing if y'all want to, but long answer, David. No, because I think Kendall Diggs should still play right field. And for a lot of the same reasons that I just said about Jason Jones. You just think about what is the best version of this offensive lineup or this Arkansas lineup as an offense. Like, what is the highest ceiling possible? I think we've seen Kendall Diggs. The dude had 63 runs driven in, hit 299, had like 12 home runs last year. We see how high of a ceiling he has at the plate, and I'm sure it's even higher than that. And same goes for Jason Jones. So we haven't been able to see a full season of it, but we see the power. We know it's in there. I think the highest ceiling for this offense has both of those guys. It's the lineup you saw today. And DVH kind of spoke to that in the postgame afterwards. He said, I really kind of just told the guys, like, I'm tired of having to change the lineup all the time. Like, please just do something to where I can know what my lineup is every day. We don't have to keep playing this game. I think he, it's not officially a lock or anything. He had one hit this weekend, but I think that, I think the best version of this lineup probably has at least one of those guys. I just think with Helfrich, Souza, Jones, and even Diggs, I don't know how you can justify having all of them on the bench at the same time. And I think mathematically, I don't even know if that's even possible. But I just think that's just too much power, too much upside to keep on the bench, frankly. And so I'll be interested to see how it ends up playing out. But I think we're slowly getting there. But Kendall Diggs, obviously, we don't have to keep talking about it, but he's just not himself right now. He's just not. And we'll see if that means he's going to stay in the lineup. Who knows? He only started 2 games this weekend, had a hit yesterday, had a nice swing on Friday night too when he came in to pinch hit. I don't think he's like, all hope is lost or anything, but it would be really nice to get him playing like Kendall Diggs again. Porkenstein says, arms are getting tired. Everyone is human. Those are 2 correct things. And yeah, it'll be interesting these next 2 weeks, especially, hey, I know everyone wants to win this series at A&M. I know Arkansas wants to win the series at A&M. I know that's like, a thing that's important, and there's a lot of implications for the SEC standings and all that. But would it be the worst thing if Arkansas managed their pitching staff a little bit differently here these next 2 weeks, especially in Hoover? But to maybe give everyone a little bit of a reset. We talked about that with the lineup the other day of, they told the guys not to come to the facility, and we'll see if it could rejuvenate this lineup. It seems to have helped a little bit with the offense. We'll see if maybe there needs to be a little bit of shuffling or some dispersing of the workloads there in the pitching staff. Let's see. Fishman says, my mom has the hots for Peyton Holt. Yeah, fair enough. Young Sea Lion says Holt has that Carson Shaddy energy. This is true. This is facts right here. And dude, if you just look back on a lot of national championship teams over the last, 5, 6, 7 years or whatever, there's usually like 1 or 2 guys who are just like insurance salesmen that are just dominating against the highest level of competition. My buddy Cade Beloso at LSU last year kind of was that. He had no, I love Cade Beloso. He had no chance of like being an MLB player or even like having a real big pro career or anything, but he was as important as anybody in that LSU lineup down the stretch. I think Peyton Holt is kind of like that for Arkansas this year. Carson Shaddy was that for Arkansas in 2018. This dude that hit like 330, had a ton of home runs, had a ton of runs driven in, was a big piece of what that Arkansas team did. He didn't have any MLB. You think of a guy like Bobby Hornus. Bobby Wernes, Tyler Spoon, like that 2015 team had like 12 dudes like that. There's always seems to be these guys who like aren't the most talented, like aren't gonna blow away the scouts. Will McIntyre is also in this category, by the way. But just dudes that are kind of irreplaceable, and Peyton Holt seems to be a little bit of that. Let's see. Porkenstein says he has the hots for Holt. I like that. I like that. Yeah, and J.R. Shelton said Holt is one of those dudes that you hate when he's on the other team, but love when he's on yours. I would agree with that. I would agree. Oh, snap. Let's see. Yeah, production from left field and the bullpen was nails, says DKMD. Yes. All they needed was one swing from the left fielder. That's all they needed. That's it. A lot of people have informed me that A&M is up 1-0 on Ole Miss, or at least they were at 5:47 p.m. Let's see. Leslie Byram, a legend of our comment section, says, even though we've been ranked number 1 all season, you say that we're playing the hardest teams in the conference right now. Hopefully we get 2 or 3 next week. Yeah, for sure. And I mean, look, that's what would have made this series loss a particularly like tough one for Arkansas to swallow is, you're facing the best competition you're going to face all year. And so if you were starting to accidentally have a cold stretch right as you face the good teams, it would really start to make you think like, can this team rise to the occasion against legitimate top competition? To your point, Leslie, they did it today. Would be nice to see them do it again next week, but I think everyone in that dugout would trade a series win next weekend for a lot of wins in the postseason. Yeah, Porkenstein says starters throwing balls and people upset at Thompson. That's what. So it's like, look, I understand that like we got to blame something, and Nate Thompson is not like above criticism. I'm not, saying that. I'm not trying to be like a white knight for Nate Thompson or anything. But literally, like the times in the Discord, people were like talking about whether or not DVH needs to fire him was after the first couple 3 innings in the field when the starting pitching was what was the issue here. And like we said earlier, like the offense was fine this weekend. So I agree with you there. Yeah, Ozzy liked that video from DVH. Let's see. Yeah, Leslie says our starting pitching struggled this week, but our bats came to life. Thank God. Love that. Bridge Nasty says the sphincter gets real tight whenever McIntyre has come in the game recently, but hopefully today's outing gives him his confidence back. Yeah, I think it will a little bit. And also, he was pretty good on Friday. I mean, I say pretty good. He got the job done on Friday night and then ran into some trouble there, but it wasn't like, he gave up a base hit. He had a walk on a 3-2 pitch that was really close. And then he had an infield single where he kind of botched on the fielding. But it wasn't like a disastrous outing the other day. He had a good outing against Kentucky too. Like Will McIntyre has had some moments here lately, and he's had plenty throughout his career. I think obviously he's run into some trouble here. And today's outing, what was his final line? So his final line was 2 innings, 1 hit, 3 walks, and 1 strikeout. The 3 walks is a little bit weird because he had a stretch this year where he was like 33 strikeouts and 3 walks or something like that. Yeah, he definitely hasn't been as sharp, but I think ultimately down the stretch still just feels like an arm that you trust. But we'll see. Fishman says the on and off bats kind of make me think we aren't winning a chip this year because the starting pitching has fallen off. I mean, look, that's not completely unfair. And I think if this Arkansas team doesn't win the national title, I have a hard time believing it'll be because of the pitching staff. But I think here's one thing that I've noticed here lately. And Stu Hogg, by the way, shout out to Stu Hogg, who not only has the videos up already on YouTube, legend, always cranking those out. He had some interesting tweets earlier about basically Arkansas's record in games where they walk a certain amount, and then records in games where I can't remember what it was. It was like where they don't score a certain amount or whatever. But basically the conclusion was Arkansas has been really good at bailing out their offense. They have not been good at bailing out their pitching staff. Now they did it today. I couldn't do it last night. Did it a little bit on Friday night. But basically what we've learned throughout this regular season, at least, is it's a lot harder for Arkansas to overcome the pitching struggles. So it's like, I feel like that's you see this weekend just how valuable that piece of the puzzle is. Arkansas had to dig deep and win with their offense today. Likely you're not going to have to, or at least if this pitching staff is doing what it's capable of, you're not going to have to do that too much in the postseason. So, the hope is you just don't have to do it twice in one weekend. And if you do, hope you win one of those so you stave off elimination. But I don't think it's I mean, that's not a crazy way to view this thing of, hey, the bats are a little inconsistent. That makes you nervous. That's fair. But I think the bats have had a little bit of a, not a turning point. They've stabilized here in the last couple of weeks recently, which, they've done it against good competition, which I think is encouraging for sure. Young Sea Line says the Discord live chat, definitely a fun time during the game. Yeah, it really is a lot of fun. Guys, if you have not gotten in on our Discord yet, you got to do that. We do a live game chat throughout the whole time, and so we're just kind of throwing our thoughts in there. There's also a baseball chat, basketball, football. There's a boxing chat. There's ticket exchange. Like, there's all kinds of stuff. I mean, it is anything you could get from a I don't know if I'm even allowed to say the thing, message board, but it's basically anything you can get from a message board, but free. So sign up for our Discord, man. Just join our Discord. I'll probably, if you need a link, hit me up. I'll hit you with that link. I could be wrong. I think Young Sea Line actually might have literally DM'd me for the link one time, and I sent it to him. So he's proof. You could be like Young Sea Line one day. I hope I'm not messing that up. But yeah, Porkenstein says don't start anyone and just go straight to the bullpen. Don't hate that. And I know he's saying that mostly in jest, but I also do think, like, obviously you don't want to see your starting pitcher struggle, but how many times in a postseason game have you guys seen DVH have the quickest hook of all time? I mean, he pulled Isaiah Campbell with 0 outs in the first inning of a regional final in 2018. You're going to have that leash is going to be really tight in the postseason. So, you can usually tell a Brady Tigert if he's on his game or not. And it was pretty obvious right after that, going into that second inning, after about 2 batters, it was like, okay, this might not be a peak Brady Tigert outing. I think in the postseason, you'll see DVH be a little bit quicker with that, especially seeing some of these other guys extended a little bit. I think he kind of knows, and you've got a guy in Hagen Smith who's pretty good at eating up innings. I think he knows he's got some margin for error there. And so, yeah, I think there's going to be some games where I think it does go straight to the bullpen. Not straight, but pretty quick. Fishman says, hating losing doesn't make someone bipolar. Fair enough. JM says, post-game chat is legit. Hogs got us wanting more. Thanks for throwing it at us. Yeah, man, that was the idea, man. Appreciate you for tuning in. Appreciate you saying that also. Yeah, that was kind of the idea. I was just like, you know what? Everybody's excited. Let's strike while the iron's hot. Let's get in here and mix it up. And it's been fun. But I do got to say, let's see, it is 6:23. My girl will be home soon. She's coming back from a weekend with her mother. And I really do not, for the sake of my, not marriage, I was about to say marriage, my relationship and my well-being here at the home, I better hop off this thing before she gets here. I better not be on the stream when she gets home. So hopefully she doesn't sneak up on me there. But, so this ain't going to be too much longer. I'm not going to go, another hour or anything. But we'll be back. We'll be back this week shortly. I might go live every freaking day this week, man. It's going to be fun. It's baseball. We're fully in baseball season, man. Get in the trenches. It's postseason from here on out. We're locked in. We're locked and loaded, man. Wonder Bread says, I still like Gackle as a closer. Maybe we just have to rely on committee for day 2 and 3. I think that last sentence is certainly true. And I think the first sentence is very true. I still like Gackle as a closer. There's no doubt. I mean, he's definitely very good as a closer. So, I mean, if nothing else, I think that's a good enough reason to keep him there. I understand. Yeah. You maybe you're saying, oh, maybe we should get more innings out of him if he's this good. And that there's certainly a case to be made for that. But I think him doing what he did today, which, by the way, he made his second appearance of the weekend as well. He threw like 20 something, man, what was it? 20, 30 pitches in game 1. Let's see. It was 41 pitches, actually. He threw 41 pitches in game 1 and then came back and threw 34 today. Now, I don't know if you want to make a living doing that. I'm really glad they haven't been doing that with him all year. And I think they knew they're on top of this thing. They're smarter than even us genius folks. They're smarter than, but I'm really glad they weren't doing that with him a lot throughout the season. But I think now's the time of year, and he's shown that capability a little bit. I wouldn't be stunned if they start leaning on him for a little bit more extended bullpen work. Maybe not as much of twice in a weekend, but I wouldn't be stunned at all if there was like a regional game. I mean, Jake Reindl threw 7 innings out of the bullpen in a regional. Wouldn't stun me if Gabe Gackle had like a 5 1/3 game out of the bullpen or something like that. And I also just think the game is on the line at the end of the game. As we learned, like Arkansas overcame his starting pitching. Now, barely. They had to do a lot to do it. But they got a stinker outing from their starter today, and they still were in a position to win the game. Obviously, if you had started Gabe Gackle, you could make the argument that they just win going away. And look, I'm not like opposed to Gabe Gackle starting, but I do just know that if you take him out of that closing role, you got to replace him. Do you replace him with Gage Wood? Do you replace him with Brady Tigert? If as much as you guys are lacking in confidence of Brady Tigert, is there a guarantee that you put him in the closing role and he's going to just have his command issues fixed? Not at all. And so I think that's why it's a little bit, a little bit more risky. But we shall see. Ozzy also informs us that Clemson, who was number 2, got swept. ECU got swept. We got the national seed locked up. Probably not inaccurate information. I mean, well, Clemson definitely is not inaccurate information. Got swept by Wake Forest, who started the year kind of average, looking like they're coming on strong. They're going to end up hosting. Clemson, they're going to drop down. Kentucky will hold serve in the rankings. They'll move up. A&M's going to drop down. I believe Arkansas will be number 3, I guess, tomorrow, if that makes sense. Tennessee, Kentucky, Arkansas, and then maybe A&M, whoever. So we're looking at like 3 versus 4, 3 versus 2, 3 versus 5. That'll be fun. My boy JT Hazelwood says, sipping on that McDonald's red, that McDonald's house red. Peyton Holt, make that bat sing like a castrati. I love that, bro. My God, JT. Shout out to the Loma by KO bet, by the way. Appreciate that. Let's see. Rhett Moore says Smith Tiger similar to Kerstad Martin. I don't know what to make of this comment. I guess just guys that contributed as freshmen. Actually, I don't hate that. I don't hate that comp at all. Matter of fact, Rhett, I'm glad for that comment because I'm about to spin it into a cool take here. We never got to see what Casey Martin and Heston Kerstad could do in their junior years. Guys that as freshmen contributed on a team that went to Omaha and almost won the national title, had good years as sophomores. We didn't get to see the full result of what they did as juniors. And I guess Hagen Smith and Brady Tigert are kind of the pitching version of that. Guys who contributed big as freshmen on a team that almost won the national title in Omaha, good sophomore years, and now here we are. They're here to finish the story. But yeah, I mean, I'm guessing that's what you meant, and so did I. I hope that worked out. You like that one? Man, I'm going to try and rapid fire through these comments real quick because I really do have to get out of here. But again, guys, I really appreciate you guys for tapping in with this live stream, this little impromptu live stream. And we will certainly be back tomorrow or Tuesday, whether it's from this bedroom, whether it's from a space in a different location, whether it's from John's bedroom, who knows? We will be here. We will keep the baseball content coming. But I appreciate you guys for tapping in. We're going to go rapid fire through these comments here. So if you got any last ones, now's your time to be getting them in. J.R. Shelton State is going to be a problem in the postseason. 100%. 100%. Let's see. Jaron Green says, who are the day 2 and 3 starters next weekend? I'm going to go Gage Wood game 2, Mason Molina game 3. Hayden Homer, my guy, he says the rumors of the Hogs' demise were greatly exaggerated. That is facts. David says our bats seem to struggle with SEC starters when the pitch count goes up or we get to the bullpen, our bats come alive. Yeah, I think also a little bit like a lot of people struggle with SEC starters in general. I think it's just hard to hit against frontline arms. The dude today, by the way, I know everybody was kind of making light of the fact that he had 12 innings on the year and he had started 4 games and they were all kind of spot starts. I mean, they didn't stretch him out today. I think that kind of went against them today in the fact that they didn't really have a ton of film, ton of stuff to evaluate. He hadn't pitched a ton in the SEC, so they didn't really know what they were getting into. I think that probably hurt him, but they also hit him decently. Just didn't get a lot to fall. But yeah, I mean, I think a lot of bats do. But yeah, Arkansas at times does take a while to get out of first gear for sure. It is a little bit frustrating. Porkenstein says maybe this helps the starters realize they don't have to be perfect and just pitch. They had a lot of pressure. Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think at this point it's like, there's obviously pressure going in because they know they're about to lose their jobs, but it's like, man, you've already stunk for a month. You might as well just go out there and let it eat, So I'm kind of with you. Porkenstein says Wood seems to have found his role. Let's roll with that. I don't hate that. I mean, especially considering that he pitched twice for you. He gave you a save, a closing situation, high leverage on Friday, and then gave you some extended work on Sunday. If he's able to do that consistently, his stuff was really good today. So it wasn't any like drop off. I don't hate the idea of keeping your arms that are pitching the best, keeping them saved for later in the game. I don't hate that at all. Jacob Clemens says, I just want our guys to keep mentally calm. The ingredients are there. 100% with that. Ozzy Maverick says, we are going to have to stick with what we've got. No changes. Tiger Molina not coming out of the pen. Interesting take. And it's crazy. Aziz, I don't necessarily disagree with you. You know, I was talking about it earlier. It's just a hard thing to do. Um, and it kind of comes back to what I was saying about Kendall Diggs and Jason Jones and what is the highest ceiling possible for this team? What are the ingredients? I think it probably involves at least one of those guys, maybe not both of them, but at least one of those guys giving you 4, 5, 6 innings. You know, so if there's any chance for that, you got to see if they can do it. I mean, Mason Molina pitched 6 innings, struck out 10 in the postseason last year. Why can't he do it again? You know, who knows? But obviously it's been rough, so we'll just have to see. Yeah, and he says thin leash though. 100% agreed, man. 100%. Let's see. Porkenstein says neighbors did his home and it was also all white. Well, he doesn't live in my neighborhood, but I'm sure I know at least one media member that used to live in my neighborhood who will go unnamed. But yeah, no, I don't know. Maybe it's just this is my guess. I don't have anything in here. I need to really just put up all my decorations so it little sticks around a little bit. But let's see. Yeah, Porkenstein says, wasn't that 2018 when Rutledge quit? Could have used him against Oregon State. Yeah, that's why you don't quit the team in the middle of the year. Definitely could have used him in that series. Definitely could have used him a lot. I mean, he was pitching. He pitched like 20 innings as a freshman, but yeah, he just did not like his role there. Oh yeah, landlocked Viking says Hudson White is a real treasure. He's a beast. Yeah, let's talk about Hudson White, man. Now an 8-game hitting streak. Going into today, he was 11 of 23 in his last 7. And so let's see, he went 1 for 4, so that would make him 12 for 31. No, wait, what did I say? 11 for 23. 11 for 23 is what he was. 1 for 4 makes him 12 for 27. Okay. 12 for 27. Anybody have a calculator? What's that? That's what he's hitting in his last 8 games. He's been crushing. He learned how to hit home runs again, which is awesome. He hit 11 last year at a smaller park in Texas Tech, but still, a guy that had power, hit home runs in the offseason. He's now had 3 in the last 9 days after hitting 1 all year, and it was on opening day. Big time, man. He's one of those guys you talk about. What's the highest ceiling for this offense? Having that guy crushing in the middle of the lineup certainly helps. He's gonna be a problem down the stretch, man. Yeah, Gene Carlson says Stu-Hog had the highlights reel running before I got home from the game all series. Yeah, he's a stud, man. He's a stud, man. If you're not tapped in with Stu-Hog on YouTube, what are you doing, man? That dude's crushing it. Let's see. Yeah, T. Higgins says it's always hard to overcome 8 runs. Sure is, and sure is, man. Landon McCoy says driving up to College Station from Corpus next weekend. What Aggies do I need to yell at? I'll give you the 2 big names: Jay Slavalette from Katy, big old outfielder that has 20 home runs. Braden Montgomery, who has even more than that. He's another outfielder, potentially 2 top 10 picks. 2 goos right in the middle of their lineup that have been crushing. Arkansas is going to have to deal with those dudes, and LSU kind of shut them down. I haven't looked at what they did against Ole Miss yet, but that's the easiest way to beat A&M is cut the head off the snake, man. Just take those 2 elite bats out of their hands, man. Yeah, T. Higgins says DVH is molding Wood to become a starter. If he seems on track, man. He's starting to have a really nice development track. Last year, obviously, we saw the talent. We saw what he could do. He's just getting better and better, it seems. He's just kind of leveling up. I really like him, man. It's really fun. He's a really likable kid, man. Next year, if he's starting weekend games, it's going to be a lot of fun. He's a character, dude, an absolute character. Also eats salmon before he pitches. So I'm wondering if he had his salmon today. Hudson White, regression to the mean, says Flying, but I guess it's really progression to the mean. But let's see. Cody Trevathan says, I think Tigert is injured. I'd switch Tigert and Big Mac. I forgot the last time I saw Tigert go 6. I'll tell you when. 2 weeks ago. That's when he went 6. He had back-to-back 6-inning starts. But look, I'm not going to comment on whether he's in. I have no idea. I don't want to speak out of turn. I don't want to say something stupid. I don't want to speculate. Obviously, he's had some injury troubles in the past. Interesting that you say Big Mac. Obviously, he started a lot of games for Arkansas. Been a guy that's been extended a lot. That's actually interesting. And honestly, I haven't considered that as much as I probably should have, because I think it's very much in play. I really do. That would be quite. We're talking about a guy that threw 7 innings in an elimination game or in 2022 in Omaha. Definitely would be quite the X factor there. I actually don't hate that. You sold me. You sold me, man. Tanner Harris is saying State fans are saying they are our Super Bowl with Chris Lemonis having a 2-13 record against Arkansas is wild. That is pretty funny. Bridge Nasty says he would have hit over, Kerstad would have hit over 20 bombs in 2020. I think he would have been close to 30. I really think it would have been. I mean, what do you have, like 6 or 7 through 15 games or something like that? Yeah, it would have been good. Daniel, she says, haha, only a select few know who that media member is. Nah, man. Look, Tom Murphy, people know Tom Murphy. Y'all know who Tom Murphy is? Y'all know Tom Murphy, right? Let's see. All right. Porgenstein says, is it Howard Stern? What is this a reference to? Howard Stern. Yeah, Daniel, she says, well, also, White is just a consistently happy person I've covered. He is very the most consistently happy. Yeah, that is accurate stuff. All right, guys. So we are now over an hour. I really appreciate you guys for tuning in. I got like 1 minute before my girl gets home. I got to get out of here. It's been a lot of fun. Tap in with the pod if you've not subscribed to the YouTube. Subscribe on Apple. Subscribe on Spotify. Whatever you got to do. Tell your friend. Tell your grandmother. Tell your mother on Mother's Day. Give her this present: a subscription to the Baumbastic podcast, which is free 99. I love you all. Woo damn pig. How about that? We move on, and I can't wait to get back on the stream Monday, Tuesday, whenever. No shortage of hogball to be talked. And Daniel Shee, I have not forgotten about our bet. That's been another tremendous episode of the Baumbastic podcast. I hope you guys have a tremendous day. We out.